I will say I'm a little bit nervous for them because all in all, I think looking across the maps that both these teams play, I would have given them the advantage anyway. Sure. So a risk may not have been needed, but we'll see. G2, they've come into every series prepared. Already, they're going to get slaughtered. An aggressive start out from Gambit, fighting into the middle, and it's left on to keloqz to really do some damage.
Such a good start for Gambit here on the defensive side of their map choice. A surprise for G2 to be taking this battle on Breeze, I'm sure. What a tough round to win out. The spike dropped down in middle. And Avova has snuck into the B side, but Gambit know exactly what control they've given up. They're holding forward, shutting him down, and leaving keloqz to do it all. Immediately, we're seeing that aggression come out of Gambit, rushing down middle, fighting an elbow together with Defo and Nats. And that kind of sets a scary tone for the rest of this map because G2 did not look prepared for that.
Berlin'i kazanırsa
I
nasıl
like to
büyük
see
bir
it. Like
tens
the
diyebilir
fact
miyiz?
that Gambit, a lot of the time when it comes to the defensive sides, are
diyemeyiz
fairly
ya.
passive. They're known for how slow they actually play. This time they've just gone, okay, let's just destroy them in this pistol round. Let's catch them off guard, not only with the map choice, but the style of play. I think it's also important that we talk about the two main duelists for these teams, the Jets, who are going to be performing, because from what we've seen in matches so far, for example, the only match that we actually saw Gambit lose, that was the worst performance we've seen from Defo in this entire tournament. Yes. keloqz has also been on pretty much, I think he's one of the top 5 players in the whole thing. So these two players are going to be a big focal point for this matchup, and because Breeze is so open, it makes it even more interesting.
Now they're both making a big name for themselves when it comes to Masters 3.
Berlin'i,
Gambit side,
hatta finale çıkan bu maçı kazanırsa acend direkt gidebiliyor Champions'a. Ama G2 kazanırsa acend eleme oynamak zorunda.
Over to keloqz, as you said, such an open map with so many long-range duels, but Gambit are trying to avoid giving any opportunities away at this point.
Acend elendi, evet.
He would have been spotted out by that. keloqz is going to be able to find Chronicle though. That's the main man on this A site dealt with. Nats is also going to be here, but a lot of his utility is on the other side of the map. A little bit close for comfort there. And we know that if they give too many opportunities for keloqz, in fact, Avova's now found a gun. This is starting to fall apart.
That Marshall, the one weapon invested into, comes out of the round with 4 kills. And you highlighted keloqz as one of the top players in the tournament, someone to keep an eye on in this series. And he waits until round 2 to pull out that kind of play.
Defo 4K.
Çünkü önemi kalmıyor kanka. Bence biraz daha nerflemeleri lazım.
Para olayını. Plant atıyorlarsa kesin çekiyorlar.
Plant atmadılar oğlum. Attılar mı?
How has that just happened?
Atmadılar ilk el plant.
Maybe this looks a little bit worrying at the moment for G2. Well, that's even scary.
Evet abi, mesela plant attım adamlar, seni alsam bile sen aynı silahla oynuyor adam.
Such an open map, such a long range one. That's where you think the rifles would have the advantage, or bulldogs and so forth. But G2 worked perfectly around keloqz to give him those opportunities to open up the map. Now we come into this round and Gambit have decided to go for pretty much a full eco, similar to what we saw from G2. It's going to be 2 sheriffs invested up into, but for the most part, this is not a round they expect to do anything in, and we're seeing Chronicle that completely shut down by that split through mid.
Fire rate yüksek, skop açmadan attığın yere gidiyor. 900 gol.
Onun nerf'i nasıl olur biliyor musun? Zoom kapalıyken düz gitmesin işte yani.
Fire rate'i de bence biraz azaltsın ama.
Bence direkt pahalı yapsınlar abi, 2000 yapsınlar.
Anasını
yaparlarsa
Guardian'ın yarı fiyatına koymaması lazım Guardian'ın tam.
Şu an ne kadar?
950.
950 o zaman 1200 yapsınlar abi.
1200 falan tam kafi ya.
2000 çok oldu harbiden.
Oh, he's trapped though. He has to get all these kills to escape, and it's just going to be a little upgrade taken. I wonder if keloqz can manage to find a rifle as well. I think he did. About. Yeah, he did. He got a bulldog out of it. So, in terms of econ loss, it's practically nothing for G2. They're going to be very happy with that round, especially considering they did lose the pistol and now they're 2-1 up.
Nerflenmesini istiyor yani.
This is one of those maps as well. I feel like it's almost... It's the map in the series that's the most confusing, because we know that the last time we saw these two teams play on Ascent, which will be the last map, it was very dominant for Gambit, but it's also a very good map for G2. And then you've got Icebox, where I think G2 have probably looked like the best Icebox team in the tournament so far. So I I would almost say that if Gambit lose this, I'm a little bit worried for them, but if they can take this home and it goes to a third, the series would probably be theirs.
I think I'm with you there. Over on the G2 side, after a fantastic start, we're not even going to see that Bulldog used by Kellogg's to start the round out. He's popping the Blade Storm, try and get some presence towards this A side, but they don't want to overcommit. I think for a moment there, you probably started to contemplate this mix will flash through the wall. You maybe updraft and try to grab a pick, but they decide they don't really want to fight this. And they've dragged over a pretty heavy rotation. The B site now solely held by Defo. He has no utility to support him over there. So that operator doesn't connect for multiple kills. They could be in a lot of trouble if G2 went there. Because of that pressure, Shados rotates back over, and now G2 find a little bit of an emptier side. Still a couple players to deal with.
Yeah, and the scary thing is it's both the Viper and the Cypher here. So there's so much utility. Kellogg's is just going to be picked out of the sky. Cage is being popped as well to give him a little bit more time to play around some of these angles, but Nats is going to get dropped. Mixwell, he's found another, and an afterplant is inevitable.
Really good call by G2 there. They realize, okay, we've seen the Cypher, but there's probably Viper's still here, right? Has to be, from what they saw earlier with Chronicle being the only player on the site.
Yeah, ben de
when they had that eco. Oh, that is incredibly unfortunate. Redguard just walks forward. It's shut down through the door. I don't really see a way back in here. There has to be overpeaking by G2 to give advantages, and Gambit make the same read there, just running for the
yeni map'i beğendim bu arada.
cutting them off. Nukia already coming up through middle. And he's going to go towards this B site to try and shut them down.
Ben çok kutu gibi olması dar böyle. Beğenmedim o yüzden ama.
Now he's going to try to stop those rifles from being carried through. The first dealt with. A shot to the back of the head takes Defo down. That might even be an off pick for G2. At least they have the option. And yeah, Nukia's going to bring it through.
Yeah, that's a solid round for them. A full buy investment from Gambit, nothing really achieved. The site looking a little bit vulnerable on A especially. And like if you have both Viper and Cypher on a site and you get one kill and they just walk in and plant, then I feel like that's not a very good setup. Like something's definitely gone a little bit wrong. And although I will say I think this is going to lead relatively heavily into the attack side for both sides. I don't think I've seen too many fantastic defensive setups just yet. I'm still going to get a little bit worried for Gambit if they go that far down on their own map choice.
Now, G2 have massively impressed me recently, but Mixwell won't be doing any impressing right here and now. The operator spotted out Redgar, shut down Avova. That's a push in through the tube that has given them massive control. And now with a two-man advantage and some rifles recovered, they can just back off and run this down, allow G2 to make the next move.
Huge start. Again, the only rounds they've had any success have been based of heavy amounts of aggression, and with the Blade Storm in play, a rifle retrieve.
Bu maçlardan sonra valorant var mı? Yok maalesef abi. Dışarı çıkacağım maçlardan sonra. Sosyalleşeceğim.
This is where Nukia closes in on the site. Wants to take Chronicle down, but he can't quite catch the spray. And moving in through that wall is always going to be a risk. The Hunter's Fury trying to finish him off on the site, but nothing is to be connected by that. Kellogg's surely not about to walk on through that wall.
Evet harbiden. Redgar sızmış, o yüzden bekliyor.
Oy! Redgar gets dropped. The reaction on Coldamenta brings it into a pretty winnable round for G2. They're on the A site. The second flanker on his way. Nats so late to the party, but that might just be the timing that they need.
Surely it can't go wrong twice. Nats is going to land the shot onto Nukia, but they need to now pick their battles. Which direction will they go in? Coldamenta again drops one of the flankers, but they should know that Nats is still here. Information to be garnered. Kellogg's to support him, but it's only going to be the trade onto Coldamenta and Shados. It is a messy round, it's a shaky round, but it's a round nonetheless.
Üzücü olurdu.
Gambit adına. Kritik
ekonomileri de yoktu. Redgar'ın boynu ağrımıyor mu geceleri? Abi hiç fikrim yok, nasıl rahat ediyor o pozisyonda anlamıyorum.
Geçen Eliç var ya şeyde, Liquid'in şey oynuyor. Redgar'ın oturuşunu paylaşıp Eliç. Liquid'in şey, o Redgar'ın oturuşunu paylaşıp şey yazmış. Birkaç sene sonra oturamayacak falan.
Harbiden öyle bu arada.
23 yaşında işte.
Abi çok kötü ya. Direkt bel rahatsızlığı yani.
They're going to take themselves an early tactical pause. Like, this is a team that I think everybody,
güzel bir kill almışız.
Pretty much around the world of Valorant has been hugely impressed with. But the one problem we've had with Gambit is the fact that their mental can sometimes be a little bit off. Like, there's not many teams in this tournament that have been winning by a huge margin and lost 10 rounds in a row to lose the map. Like that is, I think that's only happened to them, in fact. So yeah, good time to take a little bit of an early pause, give both coaches a little bit of time to talk things over.
And this is a great call by Gambit as well, just to really hammer home the fact that it is not too common to see teams win a round and then call for that tag pause right away. Sometimes you let the momentum carry you away, but Gambit want to remain cyber focused. They know
TR takımlarını geçmek yetiyor galiba. TR'ye slot ayrılmış. Evet, onu ben sonradan öğrendim. TR takımlarının üstünde olmamız yetiyor.
And fall into the trap of letting G2 have too much space. Because so far, I have to say, a lot of their attack rounds have looked very good. I liked what they did in particular on that A push, where they wanted to go, decided to fall back, and bait out the rotations to B, and then move back into A when it's that little bit easier. They've been conscious of where Chronicle might be, even without seeing him, assuming that he'll be on the A site. Looks like G2 have a pretty good read on Gambit's defense, at least to start things out.
Both teams sending out the Tigers early. I believe they've spotted the luck. Actually, I was going to say just spotted the luck of Avoba, but they've actually killed him in the first few seconds. Again, these aggressive pushes coming out of Defo. And because they've lost so much control, I wonder if G2 might have to just pick up the pace.
They don't seem to be, though. And that play around middle by Coldamenta, I have my eyes on. These guys are playing more conventional, pushing towards the site, trying to see space. But I want to see what's Coldamenta going to be doing as the round goes on and with 2 kills in their hands. That question is null and void. They've got the site and the plan.
Çok kolay girmiyorlar mı ya?
Çok geriden tutuyor. Gambit. Rifle vs'lerini kazanırız diye tutuyorlar herhalde ama fokus olamadılar ya.
Yeah, the fact is, even if he sees absolutely
İyi
nothing,
attı
it lets the
performansı.
remaining players know that there can't really be much coming from behind. That shot from Defo, this operator has been one of the saving graces that he's had so far. And the
nice lan Defo.
is going to meet the same fate. It's now starting to fall apart a little bit for G2.
Oh, the one thing they had was Coldamenta's position being unknown, but in goes that ultimate from Cypher, the neural after revealing him, and they'll shut him down immediately. The flash out does absolutely nothing for Mixwell, and just in the nick of time, they will get the defuse round for Gambit, and that one actually started quite poorly, considering they lose the A site so easily, but that retake, you have to look at Defo for that, was on point.
It's not really been missing a beat so far. I think the only rounds we've really seen them win have they've just gone to the other side. Or they killed him on the flank once after the plan had already gone in. It is still a little bit worrying for me though. Like, I'm looking at this from Gambit's perspective and saying, if it takes Defo getting 4 kills in one of the round, 3 kills on a retake in another round, they're not convincing. And their A-site hold has been really weak. That round was Keller just walking in. They didn't do anything else. He just went, oh, go on lads. Just stroll into the site.
Helal lan Mert sana.
You saw now Gambit are fired up with some shade us with a big let's go. Right after they win that round. Now they're looking for a little bit more in a mid-split. Very quickly upping the pace. G2 looking at the B side for what feels like the first time in an early round. And they are not finding any success. Redgar shutting them down. And Nats sitting in mid, holding that control, is ready to take a fight. But he does not even need to support his teammate. Redgar is just doing it all. And although he'll fall in the end, Avova has a 1v3. The spike is down in middle, so he can't even pop that Viper's pit to try and maintain control. Instead, he has to push right into this
counter. Burak, biz şey galiba, TR takımların üstünde olursak
evet, 4 tane TR takım var PUBG'de şu an PC5'te. O 4 TR takım arasından en yüksek puan toplayan
bir dakika, ne oluyor oğlum? O ses neydi?
Fırtına mı kopuyor orada, ne oluyor?
Şimşek mi çaktı?
İstanbul'u evet şey diyorlardı.
Ananı sikeyim. Fenaydı. Bir de anlat bakayım Burak.
Ya şimşek ya silah ya.
İşte 4 takım var PCS ışık 4 takım. O 4 takım arasından en yüksek puanı alan takım doğrudan katılım sağlıyor.
Anladım. Şu an Galacticos elendi, SMB elendi ilk maçta. Tam bir tek şey DA kaldı galiba.
Bir de G-Rap var abi.
DA'da Türk takım mı sayılıyor?
Ya bilmiyorum onu sayıyorlar mı? 4 diyorlar, normalde 5.
Galacticos var, nasıl var, biz varız.
G-Rap var.
O zaman DA'yı Avrupa'dan sayıyor.
SMB var.
Full yabancı diye kadrosu.
But it also actually has an extra layer to it because I've seen players use it to almost cut off short in mid. so that you can just drop it whenever you like, and if there's somebody wrapping around the elbow, you basically have a free kill because there's no way they're expecting you to do that. So it's a cool screen. It's definitely been used before. I'm liking the fact that that just created complete chaos. Well, G2 couldn't quite handle it.
Hayır.
Çekmesin onu ya.
Ya yaptığı harekete bak, amına koyayım ya. Kim bu question mark ya? Ya kim abi bu? Bu nasıl bir dilenme ya? Kod markayı öldürdü bir de ya.
As if you can't really figure out exactly how your opponents are going to play now that they've had that little bit of a change up. It's time to figure out how you
PUBG'nin puan tablosu var mı sende, atayım mı göstereyim?
Yeah, again I think the maybe a little bit of a throwing round for G2 to test the waters on the B side a bit. They don't want the A side to get too overly stacked and complacent after they've gone in that direction for a lot of the time. But I do think the A side's definitely been a little more vulnerable now. Although there's a weapon missing, at least you can see.
Bunun formatı şey değil mi? Kill de önemli bu formatta.
This A shot orb is on the. It's pretty easy.
Nasıl ya?
Most chicken formatı bu son artık böyle. Globalde böyle olmayacak. Süper bir şey varmış o format olacakmış.
Try and catch them. No, a flash, in fact. Set to come around. He knows now they're going for the orb, and unfortunately, it was Kellogg's able to dash away. Coldamenta covering, and they've got their orb, but they've also got a pick to start the round off. That is fantastic for G2.
I feel like you had to do that as a team. Like, it just the time it takes for you to flash and peek. There's already somebody waiting on the off angle, avoiding it smart from Coldamenta, and he's already trying the second opener. That's such a individual. It looked like he was dead for sure, and well, speaking of another player who's dead for sure.
That lurked absolutely fantastic.
We
know him for this when it comes to Vipers.
Sky'la lurk diyor ya.
On an agent like Sky, but I love it. Was that a connection?
No, he got killed for a mid, I think. Oh, actually, no, it was from Avova.
Looked pretty.
He didn't get an assist, so I'm gonna go off the assist.
Poor guy. Either way,
G2'nun piki değil mi bu?
After that mid fight we saw earlier, the only player to find a kill in this round, and we said that G2 needed to figure out their attack. They got to decide exactly how they wanted to approach it. And to be honest, right here, I don't think they did anything special. They held for aggression coming out of A main, and they got two players, both Defo and Shados, just running right into their hands.
G2'nun.
Yeah, I think a lot of that again comes off. I would much rather see that
sort of play come out from a couple of players, so you
can have the setup flash rather trying to do it yourself. I think the other thing is both teams just read into that, like, okay, if they're going to be going for an orb, I'm going to try and stop them, and we know we're going for an orb, they know we're going for an orb, so I'm also going to try and counter.
Hem de pikleyip hem defans başlayabiliyorlar mıydı ya?
Yeah, oh, I've seen them. I've seen some of these strat
books. Belki şey seçmiştir Gambit.
Aynen, hem map hem tarafı seçemez, karşı seçmiş.
Aynen, karşı seçmiştir.
That was actually the only thing I wrote down, and it didn't work, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yani map'i Gambit seçmiş.
I really did.
G2 atak seçmiş.
G2 saldıran, aynen atak seçmiş.
It's kind of shaky. I think Chronicle's having a pretty tough time to start things out. And we look again, no surprise, G2 are looking to pressure out the A side, but they're spreading out into a default. And this is a big change on what we've seen from some of the rounds previously, where they were very much centered around an aggressive start to the rounds. That Hunter's Fury popped out, actually connects. Nuke is down on 70 HP.
Topuklarına
a nice start, but of course if he does get a kill, he can heal right back up, or even an assist.
Starting to re-aggress towards this A site once again. The early aggression on B not really garnering too much. G2 do well to try and deny it, and now there's a counter of the Hunter's Fury. It's off, but Chronicle's actually still alive in the back of that. A little bit unsure how he's
Oy!
but the timing
Bir de
of
2
that,
kill aldı.
Çok
iyi oynadı
sure
lan.
he's traded out, but he was so low on HP, I don't think he'll care at all.
We talked about him having a rough time. He certainly did in this round.
Oh,
look at that push
Edgar, hadi la.
Edgar, great timing and a great kill.
Ya Allah Allah.
Sure, Shados falls, but a 3v1 spike
Nasıl
down.
oldu?
And Coldamenta with it all to do. A big clutch needed.
Bu arada
And
Gambit'çi
Nats,
miyiz?
again on the flank, is the one that
Evet.
closed that out.
Dedim ya,
I mean,
eğer Gambit kazanırsa Ascend direkt gidiyor Champions'a.
He should have gotten away with that. He got tagged up by a drone. Then he got Hunter's Fury.
Zaten Gambit daha samimi geliyor böyle şey ya şimdi.
Picks it up for that little bit of
Evet
extra
abi,
advantage,
G2
right? You don't wait for the guy to, or the orb to disappear. You pull it up, it goes pretty quickly, and you get that peeker's advantage. And the element of surprise,
Neydi ismi?
which
Talha mıydı lan?
certainly worked out that time.
That's something I know about both I think
Öldük mü
Barış
lan?
Sean have been
Biz
talking about
şeyde.
throughout is the
Aa,
Gambit
ölmemişiz,
yok,
hala vuruyorlar.
şeyiz.
the most.
For sure.
Like utilizing their own orb to
Yedi
give
kill
you that
olacak burada
slight
çekerse
split
kili.
second advantage of
Tamam da
seeing
kill'in
the other
önemi
person.
yokmuş ki amına
And
koyayım.
Kill'in
well, that
önemi
was
var şu an.
gross.
Sıralamanın önemi yok.
I don't think that should be allowed. You should
Yani
be able to do
birinci
that.
olmadığın sürece
But you know
10. da
what?
olsan 6 kill
I enjoy
olsan
it.
Yeah.
yine
Big shout out to Chronicle for that
6 puan
one.
oluyor.
Putting on a show on the
Anladım.
A site and making G2 second guess whether or not that A site is really
Ya
a
yaşa.
weakness. Nats opening this one up. That is an
Oğlum nereden
aggressive
iniyoruz lan?
mid fight. He just took out, well, from
Oğlum,
exactly where we're
kamera
seeing him, right? But Nuki is up close. And Nats is ready. Now he's going to have all the information on where G2 are going. And these B-site players, Chronicle in particular, the man who won out that previous round, is going to completely stop them with this Viper utility.
Ya'yı Türk takımı
This
sayıyorlarmış.
is the
PUBG
problem.
maçında
Once
spiker
the
dedi.
openers go Gambit's way, it becomes a lot more difficult. Nats is so gross, just
Helal net.
positioning
Al
and
iyisini.
catching both
Bre-
players.
Ah
He
be.
hits the thing.
Bence.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Almost the perfect
Öyle mi
round
Mitra?
from Nats, but you
Mitra'ya
know,
bak.
I think his
Ama
teammates
çaldılar
played that
kili.
one up quite.
çaldılar.
10 HP
Oğlum
left
şu an
for the guy.
3 maç bir yandan
It's
izliyorum.
pretty reasonable. Well done to Nats here. And
Bolo
look at this
telli.
fight I'm
Helal
talking
olsun.
about. It's so nasty. They saw the poison orb. I mean, it's their own one, right? They put it down. They must have known there was a gap in it, but they didn't quite expect that
Beşiktaş'ın
Nats would be
maçı mı var?
swinging out wide like that, showing them
kanka,
that he is
Beşiktaş
not
maçı.
scared to take those aggressive
Maz
fights. We know
Mazal selam
Gambit
Fethi
as a
saattir
slow
stok bekliyoruz.
team on
PC
the
için
attack.
Semih'e sorar mısın?
Oddly enough, on
PC
the
var mı
defense,
stokta? İyi
they seem to
akşamlar.
be a much more aggressive
Peki lan
team.
Semih?
Well, yeah, at least on this
Ben
map in
izlemedim sen
particular,
beni.
like, a
Top
lot of the
video
time we
çektim
do
ondan.
talk about
Geldi
Nats, especially being
Aa, yok
very
Şey ya,
guaranteed. Like, he's
ayın
like,
sistemi
almost
olayı var ya,
holding down in the
üçüncü
site,
kısmını
but
benimle
we had
çektiler
this
işte.
round.
Altta paylaştılar da bayağı adet vardı.
Exactly.
Paylaşıldığı gibi
And for
stok yok
now,
yazıyor. Bence
very
bug'tır o ya.
aggressive.
Ama
Now, we do
bilmiyorum
have
yani. Hani
Kellogg's
top
back
bir
on his
sorun yani.
Marshall, but it hasn't started
Ama
quite the
bug'tır
way
o
they
ya.
would have liked
Çünkü
it.
bir dakikada bitemez
Like
yani
he
şey.
wants to give them any space at all. The flash is
7.000
perfect
lira
though.
sonuçta yani.
Next
Söyle
one,
bak ya, neler
They've
yapıyor.
had some trouble in these anti-eco rounds, so Gambit have to be a little bit careful here not to get overzealous.
Maxwell doesn't manage to recover that weapon. It's a little bit too far out for him to risk it. Viper's pit up on the side. Still doesn't actually let them get over towards that weapon, but they'll be facing out behind it. Kellogg suffering a little bit of damage. He'll fall back
Defodan
in.
yalandan
And look at this
bıçaklar.
there, just spraying away. Gambit looking to section them off completely. Gonna have the Trailblazer put through, looking for them inside that pit, but look at where Kellogg's is. He's a great angle, but a whiff
nasıl
shot.
kaçırdı Kellogg?
Nats finishes him off. Avova and Mixwell waiting for these players to push on in. They'll take the fight on their terms, but Gambit will come out on top.
Kötü oldu Gambit.
Four
Gambit
players
aldı ya bu
alive
hefe.
coming into the final round of the half. They're looking pretty strong on this defense.
Yeah, but it was starting off a lot shakier than what we've seen. As I said, that A site looked a bit rough.
an
and in this
Dea'nın
round in
win almaması
particular,
lazım, değil mi?
You have to say that it was mostly just pistols
Evet, alması
coming
iyi
in
olur
for
abi.
G2. So it's not the end of the world, but it's
Oğlum
the
yeşil
way that
ışık
they've
çok
started
iyi
to
lan.
take map control away from
Oğlum
their
kış geldi lan,
opponents
o ne
that
lan?
has started to excite me. a little bit.
Yaşasın
As
lan.
said, Nats starting to take fights into middle. You've seen Defo get
Gol
aggressive
yemeyelim lan,
all
ne
around
olur
the
lan.
map. And now for G2, as said, I expect Gambit to be better on the attack, which is not something I'll say very often. So I'm a bit worried now for G2.
Yeah, we can say it about Gambit on a couple of maps for sure, but when it comes to Breeze, G2, remember, they won that second round.
Dea iyi bir
Since
takım
then,
Ferit.
things
Bizle
have been a
alakası
little
yok
bit shaky
diyorlar.
because Gambit start to take fights on their own terms. They start
Ben
to
de tam
play
bilmiyorum.
much
4
more
diyen var,
aggressive.
5 diyen
They
var.
slaughtered out a couple of players here. The
Öğrenmek
overwrap
lazım.
just about saves Defo. 20 HP. With an operator, he's still going to be very dangerous. That wall going to be coming down fairly soon. Kellogg's wants an advanced position for when it does fall. Flash through the
Elendi
peek
mi?
after.
Nice.
I love that free control. But Redgar's conscious of it. He's very worried about a player already being close, and as Kellogg's comes out, is Redgar ready for this fight? Seemed to be, but Kellogg's gets the better of him. 2v3. Oh, and he goes back through
Saçma
with the
sapan
man
bir kick
advantage.
Kellogg'tan.
That was a bit ludicrous. And now that could cost G2 heavily.
Trying to clear out some of these backlines, positions. The Tiger will leave. Chronicle tagged. Can't quite run away. Now it's left all on to Defo. 7 HP to try and pull off this clutch. A 1 versus 2 and the time is ticking. He has to go now. It's the last round. There's no value of keeping that operator anymore, and I don't think he stands a chance in hell. One player may be dropped, but he does not know where Avova lies, and he does not have the time. It'll be a 5th round on the board for G2, dragging things back a little bit, but still
Virtus Pro galiba gene yok edecek ya.
G2 decided to start there. Now we move into the second half.
Çok fazla takım isim var Ferit. Valorant'tan bahsediyorsan.
You said it as well earlier, Tom. And they're firing on all cylinders. We're seeing Defo start out the map in spectacular fashion. But even when Chronicle was stumbling towards the beginning, he really started to find his stride. Let's throw things over to the desk to get their opinions here before we jump into half number 2.
Thank you very much, boys. Now that last round we saw Sean was absolutely huge for G2.
Ama o da EMEA değil mi?
Yeah, they had to stem the bleeding, right? Because
aslında bir EMEA takımının kazanması gayet kafi. Tabii şampiyonayı.
Crazy second round, but
Daha
after that
fazladan belki
they
şey
really
verirler.
fell flat, right? A couple grimy rounds throughout the half. But it looks like Gambit kind of settled into the game, and now everyone looks comfortable.
İzliyorum yan ekrandan arkadaşlar. Virtus Pro'nun aldığını
Yeah, I mean,
biliyorum.
I think, Gambit took a timeout, and after that, you saw that they changed the way they were using their Viper's walls, and when they started repositioning them, it made it a lot more of a commitment for G2 to make pushes,
Aynı anda
especially
bitti
over
lan
on the A
maçlar.
side. And also the way they kind of pushed into mid as well would have meant that it's harder for G2 to go that way too, and I think that started to restrict them somewhat.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to say, mentioning Viper, Chronicle, he got hit with the Hunter's Fury on that one round. He drops his smoke and does what I call the swoop peek, where you pick up the poison orb, you and he gets 2 frags with like super low HP. That was a game changer.
Abi çok alakasız böyle bir anda
And also Nat on our screen here with those kind of stats. We're not even surprised at this point.
Sen hiç oyun falan yaş kaç abi senin Mr. Silvan'da? Senin yaş büyük ihtimal. Pek de böyle sanki oyunlarla alakan yokmuş gibi. Espor'la daha doğrusu. 27.
Whereas G2 had to spread the map or do very, very fast executes, Gambit, we're going to see that bleed the clock style that they run everywhere.
Yeah, I think the nice thing as well about running a Cypher instead of a Killjoy on this map as well is you're not limited by space, because Killjoy,
evet ya, Kod Marco'yu vurması kötü oldu biraz.
In order for it to work, the lockdown's kind of the same deal, whereas Nats can pretty much put his utility where he wants, and then he can go and play in his corner.
Well, a Breeze was Gambit's pocket pick.
Espor'la alakam yok, evet.
What else they have in store for us?
Well, I'm sure there's plenty yet to be seen, even just here on this map.
Abi ilk maçtan 6 killimiz var. Çok iyi şu an. Güzel başlangıç. Artı haberin olsun da yabancı oyuncular olduğu için bizle alakası yok. Bizi Org, Gup, Gal, SMB ilgilendiriyor. Bilgin olsun abi. Arkadaşlar kopya yapıştır. Ha, tamam. O zaman DA bizi ilgilendirmiyor.
Evet, DA yok abi.
Okay, nice.
Baktım ben de şimdi.
For G2 looking to try and make a comeback on their opponent's map choice. They got Icebox coming up next, and Gambit almost managed to catch them off guard again. A similar start though, 4 players kicking it off on the B site. Only 1 on A for G2. And that 1 player about to come under
Ne yapıyor
pressure.
lan?
Yeah, this is going to be a big challenge for Vova, as you see, as he gets dropped immediately.
Niye 4A yaptı?
This is
B
insane.
yaptı.
Gambit have done practically nothing by the way of heads-up duels, and they've got the A site, they've got the plan. In fact, they look like the defenders.
I am not sure if they'll be able to find a way back into this one. I'm also not sure they'll even know how close some of these players are actually going to be. Defo needs to be cleared instantly, and that's exactly what they get. But there is a second wraparound coming through even later from Redgar. Again, this duel is going to be everything. Wins that as well. Sure, it's traded out, but now they know where these players are going to be sitting. Kellogg's picks off another, but Chronicle and Nats are fighting strong. It's left all onto Nukia.
Aman.
250 can ama sıkıntı.
Remaining 2R. Watches them wrap around, hits the dink onto the first, at least leaving him low for the time. Ticking far too low. Chronicle, all he has to do is stay alive here.
Aldı ama patladı mı? Patladı mı?
Patlamadı.
Patladı. Patladı.
Gambit winning out the pistol. But remember, the second round didn't exactly go their way. The problem is this time around G2 are on the defense, and things are about to get much more difficult, because winning out these pistols, contrary to what we would say if this was a map like Ascent or Split, where
abi zaten DA'yı Türk olarak varsaymaları saçma olurdu yani. Oyuncular full yabancı, takım Türkiye'den yani. Aynısı Valorant'ta da var. Valorant'ta da 3 tane yabancı oyuncun varsa, mesela EU'dan oyuncun var 3 tane, mecburen EU region'la katılıyorsun elemeler vesaire. Ama 3 tane Türk varsa Türkiye'ye katılmak zorundasın. Bu raconu budur yani.
Takımın bayrağı şey alıyor zaten.
Aynen.
Oksijen falan değil mesela.
Evet.
Amerikan yabancı takım ama Türk oyuncular full.
CS'de de aynı mantık ya. Çoğunluk hangi ülkenin oyuncusuysa oraya
Nets çok uzak bir ora.
Nets'e
bak nereden geliyor. Yalnız Nets'in flanki bu işi çözer ha. Çok iyi Chronicle, çok önemli kill'di. Bir türlü Nets gelene kadar ama bırakacak.
Behind them boys, and the thing is, it really doesn't matter because he gets there when they're all dead. But where he was coming from as well, they could easily.
Her kıtadan bir oyuncu varsa ne oluyor? Ha siktir, soruya kes.
International takım ha siktir.
İstediği yere katılıyordur lan.
Direkt şampiyonaya bilet kazanıyor.
Seçiyor değil mi böyle amına koyayım? Arabia Strike'a katılıyor.
Biz Arap olacağız ya.
Over the last few months they've been 15-4. Now some of those
Unisex.
have been a close game versus Crazy Raccoon. We thought they might be
Lokasyon
a
olarak
little bit
neredeyse
easier.
orası sayılıyor ya işte.
And a loss to
Yani
100
Amerika'daysa
they were very
Amerika'nın
far
şeylerine
in the lead.
girebiliyor.
So I would
Avrupa'daysa
favor
Avrupa'ya.
G2, but only just. So if this is a blowout from
Yok
here
Asil
on,
Panda.
well, I would be a little
Arada
bit worried.
PUBG başlarını izleyeceğiz.
Arkadaş inanılmaz ya.
This looks to be Gambit's, right? They won out the veto, and certainly with this surprise pick, let's see what G2 have in store. This is a round they
Ben bugün
desperately
11'de
want, but
10'da
they've lost
kalktım,
nuclear
10-11
right
gibi.
away. The shot not quite
Oğlum,
gonna
bu saatte
connect.
ne yapıyorum
Mixwell
amına
spotted
koyayım?
out, will be traded. Kellogg's does well to find one.
Bir uyudum
That
saat
flank
4'te
put off
kalktım ama.
completely. Shados now all alone, the bonus round, but he's managed to get his teammates Vandal as he
Sen
moves
şu an
around
var
the
ya,
left
sen
side. The first kill goes his way, but Kellogg's is that little bit too quick. He starts with a whiffed shot, but he finishes with 3 kills. And G2 finds 6th.
Bunların defans takımıydı amına koyayım bırak.
Akın her şey 13. Enkli olsun. Kanka bonus oynadılar, sakin ya.
They almost lose it. Like Shadows able to get himself a rifle
Ne
at the
oluyor
end
ben
and
Antalya'dan
bring it down
bahsediyorum.
to just one player. Now you look at the buys that are going to be coming up. Well, there's an operator on Defo's side, so it's not like he's got any cash missing
Net
at all.
hangi ara
And on the other
29
side of things, Kellogg's
ya?
has actually had to give over his operator just so the mix will actually
20'ye
have a
9
weapon.
gidiyor. 20'ye
Yeah,
9.
it makes sense when he's got the Blade Storm, but obviously that's going to remove a
İlk
lot of
yarıda
possibilities
420
for taking
combat
those
skoru
more
vardı.
aggressive operator duels. Let's see what Kellogg's wants to do with
Biri
this
chatten
Blade
şey
Storm.
yazdı.
You see
Bizim
him inside
takım
the
başka
wall right
ülkelerden
now.
vatandaş yapak.
Shados picking up the
Hiso'dan
seekers.
çok iyi Arap olur.
We can work with those in the later stages. Chronicles already spotted out Kellogg's, knows that he's playing.
Ben de GT'ye kanka Kellogg's yerine.
With a minute 15 on the clock, Gambit, they don't want to just run in blind. They're going to slow it down.
Already. A minute gone.
I've got your trail.
They're actually going to pop themselves the Seekers. Give at least a little bit of information over if anybody was actually going to be close by. Obviously with weaker weaponry currently available, they might have tried to take some more aggressive positions. They're going to follow this up. Avova has to do an awful lot here. Sat at the back and he gets absolutely nothing. Nuka and Kellogg's though have found a killer piece.
Oy.
Nice shot out of Kellogg's. Quick
2v2
return
oldu bir
though.
anda.
Gambit right back in the fight. The spike is down, but it can be recovered. There's no one close by to punish for the side of G2. As Gambit
Redgar ölmeden birinin yanında
you
götürebilirim.
can see Redgar. It's going to be a little late to the fight. You've got a 1v1 brewing between Cole Dementa and Shados. It's whether this fight is found soon because there's 15 seconds left and Shados needs to cross over.
10
He's
saniye.
thinking about doing it with a flash. Instead, he just goes straight in for the peak.
10 seconds left.
They'll get this plant in just in time. The recon to catch him as he fades out is taken
Lan ne
down by
yapıyorsun?
Redgar.
Redgar.
4 HP. He's the
Ay amına
only hope
koyayım
of
ya.
the
Oku
team.
kıracağım diye.
The Vandal in his
Ne
hand.
diyorsun ya?
Hits the instant
Ne diyorsun
headshot.
ya?
Ah be
Mixwell.
abi.
Perfect flash to close out the round. 7 found for G2. These rounds have been close.
Kellogg's her round
Ultimately, they're
bitince
going the
masadan falan
defense's way,
kalkıyor ya.
and G2 are right back in the game.
Mental
Yeah, and
vurmaya
this is where
çalışıyorlar.
now Gambit will actually have some
Kellogg
troubles of
Arap
their
mı bu
own
arada?
when it comes to the weaponry and the credits that they'll have going
Kellogg
into the
nereli
next round.
bakalım?
They are, however, in the same spot we saw previously from G2, where they are one off the blaze.
Kanka
So
Fransızmış.
fighting for one of those early orbs is not going to be too much of a problem for them. Although this round was close, I expect this one
Bir
to be a
Mısırlı
little
tipi
bit
var ama.
further into their favor. Now, as said,
Evet.
they can't take this one lightly. In
Oh,
fact, there's
belki
even
kökeni
maybe
orasıdır
some
ya.
heavier investments coming in from Gambit that you might have expected.
Abi ne olur gol yemeyelim artık yeter
To
lan.
be honest, I was looking at, in my head at least,
Kaç kanka?
2-0 artı 45'te attılar artık
Instead,
45'miş
3 of their
artı 4'te
players have
attılar.
left. It's quite critical,
Kontratakta
especially
falan mı atıyorlar abi?
on him.
Anlamadım.
Very strange over on that attack side, especially with
Yo
the
adam
value
orta
that can
açtı
be
herif
brought when you look at the
mükemmel bir
Viper
kafa vurdu
ball,
gol
but it's
yedik.
only going to be used
Aba.
to fake out in the early round, putting it down on A to try and
Ersun hocam ya.
if they find this pick onto a Vova,
Kelox'un yaşını söyleyeyim mi
ability to
size?
blitz in
Biliyor
quickly
musunuz?
and find a very very weak B site. Nats as
2003'lüymüş
well, look at
abi,
the
17
patience. He was
yaşında.
waiting for Nuki, but he turns at the wrong moment. Still
Vallahi
manages to get the
2003'lüymüş.
first bullet off, but he receives the one to the head, and Nuki keeps on firing. That's a great hold out of G2 already. Avova still yet to really do anything on the backside as the team runs away. Flank out of Redgar caught. It's only a classic, so even with the damage, he's going to get shut down. And well, there's not really a lot of opportunities. Even the tag just instantly returned. Stronger weapons for G2 reigning supreme.
Güzel oldu lan.
Versus 5. After the last couple of rounds that G2 have had, this is pretty big for them if they can win it flawlessly. Even though there will be a purchase in the next round.
Kahveci yayınlar abi bu ilk başını seviyorsun. Çok teşekkür ederim kahveci. Canım da kahve çekti
You know
ha.
he's popping off. A Prime Gaming flawless round. Finances there and he even got his Empress online.
Yok
Not
yapacağım
too
ya
shabby.
aşağı inip.
No, he had that on pretty quickly as well because he was just dominating in those early fights. And look at this. It's not often that Nats gets the first bullet and you get to return fire.
Teşekkürler Milf Hunter.
Yeah, he also picks off the Blade Storm as well. And that was one of the major
Yalnız
threats.
Starbucks'ta.
Now these
Saat
early
kaç lan?
rounds, they've been close. But for Gambit, as I said, we know that
Starbucks'ımız
sometimes
var
the
ya.
pressure can get to them. They've now had
Saat
opportunities
akşammış
to, well, basically put them up to 10, 11, maybe more.
Yep.
So we'll see if it starts to affect them a little
White
bit. It also
chocolate
means that we're gonna
mocha,
see the operator
extra
around this time.
espresso
He's
shot.
not going to get anything done.
Yeah, big shutdown in the early round out of Gambit. We know their defaulty play, and I mean, it was only the first couple of seconds, so of course they're still holding down. The same thing is true of the entirety of the map. Cypher Utility holding for the A push. Look at just how much control Nats is garnering all by himself. He's holding down basically half of the map, at least half of the avenues that they have to aggress on, if not more. While the rest of the team tries to work up through middle. Pressure in onto that B side. Still no intention of where they want to go, and they just keep on finding picks.
Defo is on one today. Like,
Oğlum ben yine TR'den izliyorum, yabancıdan izliyorum. Oo kaliteye bak
FPS
oğlum.
çok düşük ya.
Evet şu an tıkladım geçtim. Gözüm
Akıyor direkt.
4K oldu.
Just a couple left. That'll be an ultimate orb coming in at least.
No, he started to run.
Oh, it's a little bit awkward, but luckily Redgar's there to help out his buddy.
I guess they were a little worried maybe that was Kellogg's with the
kahveden.
operator, right? So they try to jump deep around the corner. Doesn't really punish
Cold
them in the
brew
end.
favorim.
And this operator will just look to save on the back of the
Pumpkin
B-side, but it's
spice
unlikely they
latte
allow
kanka.
that.
Hadi
No,
grab abi.
as well. This gets so much more dangerous. Nats is already in their spawn. He's
Ama
just
çiğ
running
yiyorduk,
out.
bırak,
Not
çiğ
yet.
yiyorduk, çiğ yiyorduk.
Kellogg's knows that he's up close, so that's a free frag. But how much more can he get? He needs to find so many kills if he wants this weapon for the next round. The cloud burst used to
Neler
isolate
yapıyor
some
oğlum?
angles. This is something
ele
Kellogg's
alacak lan
does
ne
so
bu?
damn well. But in the end, doesn't look like he gets away with it. Double digits hit for Gambit. And that was, I mean, there were a couple of mixed weapons there for G2, so I understand why they get that little bit more aggressive and try to force the early fights. Unfortunately, they run right into Gambit, who are waiting with open arms.
Herkes farklı bir şey söylüyor abi.
He was like this on the defensive
Türk
side as
kahvesi
well.
diyen var.
Having a superb performance in a map where they desperately need it seems. And as you mentioned, a few weaker weapons here and there, but this is now the credit spent. For G2, they need to win this round, otherwise we could be seeing this map now slip out of control. And I don't think it's been particularly close in a lot of the rounds. They got off to at least a little bit of a hot streak, but Gambit so far
Salted maple karamel latte
has looked like
söylüyorum.
the better side. And we're going to see this early aggression into mid.
Tuzlu
Drones
akça ağaç
clear out
soslu
some
ve
positioning
karamelli
in Nats,
latteymiş.
just making sure there's nobody peeking, but it's currently being held by Coldamenta, and he'll win that duel.
Hiç içmedim.
Yes, he will. Nats falling right away.
Bu bazı Starbucks'lar şey oluyormuş, reverse yazıyor. Özel orada farklı çekirdekli kahveler oluyor. Bunu biliyor muydun?
Bilmiyorum. Reverse mi yazıyor?
Aynen, bardağa da farklı bardak veriyorlar. Bir de mesela yani kullandığı kahve çekirdeği daha özel oluyor.
Nerede var mesela?
Mesela Hilltown'da var yani.
Hilltown,
Zormuş.
Reverse.
Tamam işte kanka ya. Bir bilgi verdik, o da yanlış olmuş.
Hayır, Semih'in dediği de var arkadaşlar. O tersten Starbucks.
Abi.
Kanka şeyden aklı, flash izledim
peek into the
reverse
spawn.
flash.
A 5 versus 3 after plant is a really good spot for G2 to be in, so it's fine that they're going to get the spike down.
İstanbul'da Moda, Hilltown, İstin yapar, Vadi İstanbul, Tophane, Nişantaşı, Koşuyolu, Kanyon, Palladium.
Amına koyayım. Anadolu'da bir Palladium'da varmış.
This could be a big flaw now for G2. They're making a lot of noise in the connector. Gambit have the perfect timing on the flank. All they need is the player on site to stay alive, and he has done that. Chronicle picks up one. He goes out for more. There's the trade, and they're not ready for a second player. Shados.
Aldın lan Eli Shados.
But the spike is not planted for him. He needs to in the first, and he does indeed. Avova sticking it all the way. Will he get there in time?
Yapma be.
Avova comes off it to take the duel, and that is 9 rounds for G2. A hard-fought retake, though. They had everything set up for them, but Gambit adapted to that perfectly.
Can they win a round with more than one player? That's now the last 3 that we've seen onto the board for G2 coming down to these solo clutch situations. This map could be over. Gambit could have won it by now, but G2 are just clinging to life in these last few scenarios, and this was just ridiculously close. I don't think that just to stick it all the way through, and well, he almost just defused it.
Nereye atladı BBL?
He almost did, yeah. Hearing the steps, obviously as Shados started to sprint towards him, he knew time wasn't quite on his side there. He had to just come off it and take the fight. Gambit calling a tactical timeout after that round loss, but I have to say, it was the early round that really fell apart for them, especially losing Nats over towards the A side. We know just, and we've seen just how pivotal this man can be in making those flank plays in the late round. And really, when you look at that B play, they go in with 3 players, 3v5, they immediately identify, okay, these guys are playing retake, they've got a wall down. If we just play the site, we're dead. We're going to get split up by that wall and taken down one at a time. So what did they do instead? They make that flank play, perfect timing in through the elbow, and it almost gets them the round.
I think the only unfortunate truth with that was that Redgar was screwed. Because Mixor came in on the flank, there was absolutely no way he was going to survive that. An extra second or 2, maybe a single kill for him. Sure, well, a single kill was the difference. So maybe they're able to take that home. And he was the only one who had any vision onto the spike as well.
Erken değil ya. Geç aldım ben ehliyeti.
Still though, 10-9. Crunch time again for either side. Economy hasn't been built up.
24 yaşında aldım galiba. Yok, 23 yaşında aldım. Ya 22 ya 23.
Put the wall down from the B side. A lot of players will put it down from the connector, so it doesn't go out into mid like this, which can obviously be a little bit problematic in holding that down.
Geç aldım.
The Seekers won't really do much. This is fast. This is incredibly fast out of Gambit. Yeah, they're on the site as we speak, and none of G2 are.
Yeah, it looks like the same sort of retake setup. Redgar is stuck in, he's weaving, he's trying to avoid the final tag, and he's not going to be able to. Again, an advantage in this retake for G2 as they make their move.
At geliyor. Net geliyor.
Plant was going to be coming in. Shock darts to the backside, tickling them up. But here's the man we talked about before. Nats on the flank. He can pick up a weapon. Knows exactly where they are. Right on it. Taking down 2. Looking for the final player behind him. And that duel goes
Ama bak vermeyin eli. Defo.
But he's pulled it into a 1v1. Defo giving away his position on the backside. Nukia knows exactly where he is, but he's got to take him down soon. The time is ticking away. The jump, right click works out, but the round is not his. Nukia might even fall to the spike in the end.
Let's go, Gambit.
Devastating round, really, considering how things play out, and you have to give it to Nats there. We said they took him down in the previous round, and that's really what crippled Gambit's ability in those retakes. They still made a damn good try of it, but right there, he was anything but absent.
Ağır giriyorlar kanka.
I don't know how he does it so often. That's the thing that's just mind-blowing for me. Like, the fact is, in the majority of cases, they're going to know exactly where he is, and they still can't do anything about it. Another interesting point, they used Seekers that round, and they still didn't know he was there.
Just the position of these Gambit players wasn't dragging him over. I have to say, you know, it really perplexes me how he gets 3 kills and still looks upset with himself for not finding the 4th. It's like, oh, sorry guys, I whiffed, I messed up. It's like, dude.
I only got 3 kills with the Spectre.
You just saved the whole round with the Spectre. You're looking upset with yourself. 11-9. Gambit definitely want to push the A side. Look at this. The amount of control kept by Nats. It amazes me every single time, the patience of this man. And Gambit have split right up through the halls. They are behind G2 and ready to make an incredible crunch in onto this site. G2 have pushed back out to maintain mid control. Oh no. There we go.
Not not the best of trades. It's still a horrible spot for keloqz to be in, and eventually he's going to walk into the second player who'd come round from behind.
O neydi lan?
I was about to say, that's probably the best distraction I've ever seen, and it was definitely an accident.
Just dashes straight into his face. Yeah, I think it was a little late hitting his A or his D on that
ability.
Oh, man. Well, Gambit seemed to be closing this one out. Obviously, G2 only had the pistols, content to play for OT. Good attempt made by them. Decent damage done. They dropped Shados. They almost dealt with Defo. But that split, it was just too much control given.
Bu maç 3. maça gider. 3. map'e gider. Icebox'ı da G2 alacak. Son map. Ascend'de oyun biter.
Bence 2-0 abi.
Hadi bakalım.
Icebox'ı vermeyecek.
Some of the positions from the players on G2, I think they did know it was a possibility. Because like keloqz was playing front pyramids. You don't play front pyramids unless you know they can be behind you. It doesn't make any sense.
Sure, yeah,
they also had a lot of people pushing out through mid, so it's like they knew it was a possibility, but then when it came down to it, they still got owned by it anyway because it's just too much control.
It is, yeah. They knew it was a possibility. They were playing safe from it, but they wanted to find some frontal aggression or catch those guys behind. It's the fact that they're able to split in and have that timing to go together. And we saw that exactly with the fact that Redgar takes the kill before Defo even goes down. That's where, you know, they took a risk, they rolled the dice, but that really relied on Gambit making a mistake. They had weaker weapons, it's fair enough. You throw that one away. This one, you definitely don't. It's 12
you lose
to 9.
You do.
3 opportunities for Gambit to close it out, and that's why we see a timeout out of G2. They want to make sure that they've got their strategy polished coming into this latter stage.
Yeah, chance to
Şimdiden bir win alsak ne kadar tatlı olur ya, böyle 10 kill falan.
Have a time to talk about what's going to be going through in this round, and realistically, it is a map again. We're expecting to go the way of Gambit because they have pocket picked this.
Şeye bakıyordum da Gambit kurulduğu günden beri bir tek şey almış. Sunset yerine Redgar girmiş oyuncu olarak. O da iyi geliyor zaten. Hep aynı kadrolar hep üstüne koya koya şey yapıyor.
Evet.
The issue is of course the next map is Icebox, which G2 have been fantastic on, but Gambit are also pretty good at.
We talked about the pressure that's on these players over on the desk. The fact that the win for G2 means quite a lot. They would desperately like to be going to champions, and if they find it here, their points line up for that possibility, or indeed reality. A little bit more pressure on them than in any of the other games where they came in not as the favorites. Of course, 4th seed in EMEA, they weren't expected to beat Sentinels. They weren't expected to beat a lot of the teams they played against. So of course, it's a very different environment when you're in this stage, up against it.
Hata.
Well, I mean, you're not countryman, but you're regionman.
Regionman, the classic term.
Hey, if countryman's a thing, so is regionman. Now.
Oh, the classic slow round nuke here. The timing is going to be perfect. He's caught in the drone, and Chronicle isn't working. He couldn't have found better timing than that in any other possibility. keloqz, though, is under pressure. He needs some support, or maybe not. Isolating the jaws. Just 4 HP remaining, but that will be enough.
Yeah, Nat's left alone. He somehow still manages to get a flank play. Yeah, go on, shoot your arrow out. Yeah, good luck. But now it's a 1v4. And even with keloqz low, that operator just needs the one bullet. Turning from the flash doesn't help all too much when keloqz has teammates to help him. Oh god, 12 to 10. G2 just 2 away from OT.
Lordant, Bektaş Ceren'e, Buluski'de Merve Yıldız'a sablık hediyeleiniz için çok teşekkürler. Hoş geldiniz. Ozi FPS 33 aydır, Tom 31 aydır. Hoş geldiniz efendim.
He comes in with when it comes to dueling, it's also the control that he's constantly holding for his team.
This was gross. Pressured from both angles, peeks through the smokes and still landing the shots, repositioning for every battle, and the slight shoulder peeks just to try and bait players into a shot, even when he's on only 4 HP. Incredible round from keloqz, and he's starting to get a little bit more confident. The Blade Storm thrown in for Defo, and they're going to go for a fast push into B once again.
Oh, they definitely are. keloqz is here waiting for them, though. Hunter's Fury deployed to Vova. Good to get 1 kill, but he'll be taken down right after. Quick trade by keloqz. And he's actually repositioning. They will never expect him to be here, surely. As he even closes in the distance, that operator going in for the aggressive pick. But Chronicle is a little bit too quick. 3v3. Numbers evened up. You have to ask yourself, was that aggression necessary out of G2? They might just pay for that mistake. I'm looking at this though. Heard it. Same position as the previous round.
Abi bu Lucia burada ama hep ya.
Exos on the edge. He could end it here, but Shados expects the corner. It goes back to a 2v2. And now Coldamenta is actually alone. They know that he's still here. Now they're going to win it. The shock darts will do at least a little bit of damage. Tickling them up, but here come the Seekers. They know that there's still a player within the site and the rotations coming through. This allows them to take some control on the flank.
Aynen öyle. Aynen öyle Shados. Aynen öyle Shados.
So nasty that wall up. Nuki is going to have to push right through it. And just, oh, he's going to be spotted. Great angle from Chronicle. And he's just buying time at this stage. Shados now coming around to play this together. They drop the pin and close it out. 3 kills from Chronicle. And
1-0.
Let's go oğlum Gambit.